The Lord be with you, and welcome to our sixth session looking at the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians chapter 5. In this session, we're looking at joy. Now, joy, we mustn't confuse joy with happiness. Happiness kind of comes and goes. We can feel very elated one minute, and the next minute we can feel quite sad. Happiness is like that. It comes and goes, whereas joy is a deep-seated gladness, regardless of circumstances. They're very different, joy and happiness. So think of Jesus' teaching in chapter 6, verses 22 and 23 of Luke's Gospel. He says this, "Blessed are you when people hate you, when they exclude you and insult you, and reject your name as evil because of the Son of Man. Rejoice in that day and leap for joy, because great is your reward in heaven. For that is how their ancestors treated the prophets." Rejoice and leap for joy when you are being persecuted because of Jesus. Well, it doesn't sound a very pleasant experience, but we are to rejoice and leap for joy. Why? Well, because it is evidence that we are on the right side. Or consider Paul's experience in Philippians chapter 1 and verses 12 to 18. He writes this, "Now I want you to know, brothers and sisters, that what has happened to me has actually served to advance the gospel. As a result, it has become clear throughout the whole palace guard and to everyone else that I am in chains for Christ. And because of my chains, most of the brothers and sisters have become confident in the Lord and dare all the more to proclaim the gospel without fear. It is true that some preach Christ out of envy and rivalry, but others out of goodwill. The latter do so out of love, knowing that I am put here for the defense of the gospel. The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing they can stir up trouble for me while I'm in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether from false motives or true, Christ is preached, and because of this, I rejoice." So there we are, Paul is in prison. Some are even trying to make it worse for him by talking about Jesus. And Paul's response is to rejoice, because whatever happens to him, he is glad that Jesus is being preached. Consider too Jesus' parable in Matthew chapter 13, verse 44. "The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field. When a man found it, he hid it again, and then in his joy went and sold all he had and bought that field." We who have found the kingdom of God have a priceless treasure. What God has done for us is of immeasurable worth, and how great is the joy we have. Well, Peter helps us to answer that question. He knows his readers are suffering, but he also says in 1 Peter 1 verse 8, "Though you have not seen Christ, you love him. And even though you do not see him now, you believe in him and are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy." In the midst of suffering, they are filled with an inexpressible and glorious joy. Far deeper than happiness. Inexpressible and glorious joy. So whatever our circumstances, let us remember all that God has given to us in Jesus Christ, and let us rejoice. By way of closing this meditation, this session, I'm going to sing, "I will enter his gates with thanksgiving in my heart. He has made me glad."